This just in today, Scott Rigell, Congressman, 2nd District, Virginia Beach, retiring. That battle going on big time between Scott Taylor and Randy Forbes in the 2nd District. Anyway, Scott Rigell today sending a scathing letter to Wavy TV warning that Donald Trump could irreparably harm the Republican Party and says he will not endorse him or vote for him. Rigell says, and let me read you some of the lines of his letter he sent out just last night. He says, never before have I grabbed a word like catastrophic to make a political point. It's like pulling a fire alarm. If you do it, there had better be a fire. There's a fire, and it's raging within our Republican Party. I am convinced that if Donald Trump becomes our nominee, the harm done to our party would be nothing short of catastrophic. This, a letter sent last night by Scott Rigell, Wavy TV, reporting it today, Channel 11. It says, I reject Trump as our nominee based on his judgment, temperament, and character, all of which point to a reckless, embarrassing, and ultimately dangerous presidency. And then Rigell goes on to blast Trump for various positions. But get this one. He says Trump's pledge that he will build a wall and make Mexico pay for it certainly reflects a dictator's mindset. Rigell goes on to say, this is Scott Rigell, Mexico will not pay for a wall, nor should it, as it's reckless for Trump to make that claim. Now, let me ask you something, Congressman. You've been there for 3 terms. Good for you. You've not done a damn thing to curtail the flow of illegal immigrants into this country. You've done nothing that I can see to stop foreign workers from coming into this country and costing American jobs. Now you say that those supporting Trump somehow he's a dictator because he's the first guy to say if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And the only way you're going to control it is by putting up a wall. And the way Mexico pays for it, sir, is through a tariff on goods and services coming into the United States. Yes, it's called a tariff. We have a $50 billion trade deficit with Mexico. They produce goods. They truck them into the U.S. We buy them. Their workers get paid. Ours don't. We're the consumer. So what you do is you put a tariff. Tariff is 20%. Bang. There's your $10 billion. Right? Or what are the companies going to do? Not sell the goods in the United States? Well, we're going to pay higher. Yeah, we are. But if I can get jobs for Americans, I'll pay another $1.90 for an iPhone. This letter is unbelievable, coming out the day before Super Tuesday. Look, Marco Rubio is pulling out all the stops. The guy's going off the edge right now, making fun of Trump's hands, mocking him and everything. Now they're saying he's not releasing his taxes because he got ties to the mafia. This whole episode is beyond embarrassing for the Republican Party nationally. And here's what happened. I'm just going to be straight up, all right? The big donor, the globalist, the moneyed Wall Street class who basically have been in control of the National Republican Party through their donor bundler class for years, got together Thursday night in Colorado, and they said, we have to stop Trump before he cuts off our never-ending supply of cheap slave labor coming to the United States. And the only way we can do that right now is with this young fella, this little Marco Rubio, who basically we control like a chamber puppet on a string. That's all that we can do. That's all we have right now. Forget Cruz. We can't trust him, and he can't win. Forget Kasich. He's dead in the water. So we got one opportunity, and the only opportunity that we have is little bitty Marco Rubio, one-term senator from Florida who's never held a job in the private sector in his entire life. Never met a payroll, never built a company, never hired anybody, never did anything but work in politics for the government. So let's prop him up because we can control him and we can tell him what to do. So let's give him all these talking points and tell him we'll give him whatever money he needs to go negative on Trump. And so we get this. And now we get Scott Rigell jumping in with this letter on the eve of the election. He said, it all leads to one clear. Again, I'm quoting a letter released last night by Scott Rigell. It says, it all leads to one clear, irrefutable conclusion. Trump is a bully, unworthy of our nomination. This is from Scott Rigell, our congressman in the 2nd District. He goes on to say, my love for our country eclipses my loyalty to our party. Hey, Scott, who died and left you guru of Republicans? Right? Who did that? I missed the funeral, Congressman. My love for our country eclipses my loyalty to our party? You got to be kidding me. And to live with a clear conscience, I will not support a nominee lacking in the judgment, temperament, and character needed to be our nation's commander-in-chief. Why? Because he's the only person out there who has pledged to working Americans that he's going to stop their jobs from leaving. That's your problem with him? That's your issue? He goes on to say, accordingly, if left with no alternative, I will not support Trump in the general election should he become a Republican nominee. This is Scott Rigell. He goes on to say, get this. This is incredible. He goes on to say, an imposter has slipped through the net. An imposter has slipped through the net? This is unbelievable. Rigell says, Trump is not a Republican. Well, what the hell is a Republican, Scott? Open borders, Syrian refugees flowing in, ISIS out of control, wars without WMDs that we lie about? What exactly is a Republican? Another 1 million foreign visas, trade deals that strip us of our sovereignty and kill American jobs for the slave labor trade? What exactly is a Republican, Scott? Because I have no idea what it is. Oh, is it the Republicans that got elected in 2014? Scott, this must be it. You must be referring, by saying that Trump is not a Republican, Congressman Rigell, you must be referring to the Republicans who got elected in 2014 in the greatest landslide in a midterm in American history, took the Senate over, added 9 Republicans to the Senate, gave Mitch McConnell the gavel, added 13 House members to your congressional majority. Those Republicans, that landslide, Scott, this has got to be what you're referring to when you said Trump is not a Republican. Because, see, Scott, those Republicans that we elected, put signs up for, made phone calls for, those Republicans have betrayed us. We put them in to stop Obama, and what did they do? They collaborated with Obama. Since they got in, you got Cromnibus, you got Omnibus, you got amnesty, you got kick the can further down the road. You got, the next hill we're going to die on. The DHS, we're going to defund that. Planned Parenthood, we're going to defund that. Amnesty, we're going to defund that. You defunded nothing. You added billions to the debt since you got your majority in the Senate and have not stood up to Obama on one issue, one time, for anything, because that's not what your donor-based class wants. Is it those Republicans, Rigell, that you're referring to? Are those the ones? This is unbelievable. Then he goes on to say, Scott Rigell, unlike Trump, the true Republican Party believes we can love our neighbor while fighting our country. The hell does that mean? Because we want to stand up for American jobs? Because we want a country that illegals just can't flow in unabated? That we want our border laws obeyed? That we want to give ICE and the other agencies the tools to do what they need like other countries do? That makes us not friendly? You got to be kidding, Mr. Rigell. I mean, I like you, Scott, but I got to tell you, this letter, who put you up to this? Rubio? Because this is unbelievable. Then he goes on to say, my fellow Republicans, how much more must we see to know that his heart does not reflect our values and creed? Who are you to tell me what his heart says? What are you now, his seer? What are you now, a fortune teller, Scott? You can look into the man's soul? You know what? He just turned 11,000 people out in Southwest Virginia yesterday. 4 of them got in, right? 6,000 of 7,000, 6,000 had to stand outside. So I guess all those people that went to hear what Mr. Trump had to say, right? I guess they're all idiots. I guess they're people that don't care about the country. I guess the 11,000 people that came out to Radford University, they're all dumb. You're smarter than them. I guess the 35,000 people that showed up Sunday night to hear Mr. Trump in Huntsville, I guess they're all idiots also. I guess the 15,000 people that were in Atlanta last night at the convention center, they're nincompoops too, right? Only Scott Rigell knows best. You know, Mr. Rigell, you've been in Congress for 3 terms. Since you've been there, the debt went up, the deficit went up, unfunded liabilities went up, and our borders are being overrun more than ever. I like you a lot, Mr. Rigell. I really do. I have a lot of respect for you. But you're going to write me this letter on the eve of Super Tuesday and then end it by saying a con man is among us? With great respect, I implore you, my fellow Republicans, to vote for any candidate but Donald Trump. Well, guess what, Rigell? I voted for Trump. My wife voted for Trump. My mother voted for Trump. Hundreds of friends of mine voted for Trump. My family voted for Trump. Who are you to tell me about anything or anybody else? This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. If you don't think there's a war going on right now by the donor elite to strip the grassroots of bringing working people back into the fold in America, you're blind. This is unbelievable. Now, I never, those of you listen to me, do I go on 4-hour rants. But this letter that I got from Rigell last night is the straw that broke the camel's back. If we don't wake up and take our country back, it is gone. We are circling the drain, and you've got one guy who recognizes it. He's not perfect. Guess what? Rigell's not perfect. I'm not perfect, and you're not perfect. Mr. Trump is not perfect. No question about it. There's a lot of issues there. If you were to draw out on a sketchboard your perfect candidate, there's a lot of things about Mr. Trump that you would change. But here's one thing you wouldn't change. The guy is telling you the truth. He's 70 years old. He has a $10 billion company. He's not beholden to any of these people. He doesn't take a dime of their money. If they go in and try to strong-arm him in the Oval Office, he will laugh at them and throw them out. He's beholden to one entity, and that is the American people, and specifically working-class people who have been squeezed out, stepped on, trampled on, taken for granted, and screwed. And he got nobody standing up for them. Nobody. But one guy who comes along and says, I'm going to stop it. I've had enough. And all of this other nonsense, the sanctimonious, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. You know, I told you the other day, I've gone with these establishment candidates. I didn't back one of them in any primary since I'm 17. I could go down the list right now. I didn't back Nixon. I went with him. I didn't back Jerry Ford. I went with him. I didn't back any of these people. And I go all the way back. Except for Reagan in 80 and 84, I lost every single one. Jack Kemp, I backed their establishment candidate. George Bush, 92. Buchanan, backed George Bush, 96. Buchanan, backed Bob Dole. I didn't bail. 2000, I backed Steve Forbes. Went with George W. Bush, disaster, right? 08. Thompson went with McCain. 2012, Gingrich went with your guy Romney, who you're trying to resurrect now. So my whole life, I backed every one except Reagan of your establishment losers after my candidate goes out, and I've got these Republicans bailing because they don't like our candidate. Well, I get a news flash. Say President Trump and get accustomed to it. I am absolutely outraged, by the letter sent last night by outgoing Congressman Scott Rigell. I'm beside myself over it. I'm insulted by it. I'm upset by it. I'm done with these people. We need to take our country back. Scott Rigell, nice guy. I like him. Been there 3 terms. Debt went up. Deficit went up. Unfunded liabilities went up. Illegal immigrants went up. Country circling the drain. And he's going to tell me who to vote for. I don't think so, Mr. Rigell. Have a good day. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're fired up today. It's Super Tuesday. Make your voice heard. Get out there and vote.